And we welcome you inside Curtis Granderson Stadium for a Friday turned Saturday night affair here on the campus of UIC, as it's the Chicago Cubs Nike RBI hosting of the Cleveland Guardians Nike RBI. The Guardians are the home team, winners of the coin toss despite being the visitors to the host side overall. Cabin later, it's the three-man booth joined by Ryan Sikora and Austin Kroom. Ryan, we'll start with you. This is a very important game for both sides based off how the standings look, as the first pitch is a strike to get this game going. A very important game in the standings. And both teams look to get ahead of this Twins team that lost earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity if you look at it. These two squads are right there in a chance to get into that second spot. Winner goes into that number 2 spot, puts themselves in the driver's seat for the opportunity.
Line drive caught at third by Ellington. So that is quickly the first out of the ball game. And Harvey is retired. Austin Kroom, for you and I have both been witness to two of both Cubs games thus far. 1-0-1. An interesting win last night, and they look to get back in the win count for a second straight game.
Yeah, that win last night, just the way that they were going against Detroit, whether it was the injury bug or having to stop for the amount of pitching changes that really happened, you saw that the Cubs were able to lock in late and really show that their offense is still able to bang when necessary, even when really having good pitching. And you just saw the Tigers, they won against the White Sox in the last one.
This is going to be a infield single there for the Cubs' second hitter and Xavier Arroyo.
So you could see both teams really doing well. The Tigers, the fact that they were able to get over the White Sox Nike RBI, a team that seemed to almost be juggernaut-esque. It's a good matchup, and Kevin, we even saw both these teams last year. The Cleveland team is very similar to what we saw last year.
A lot of similar and familiar faces on this Cleveland team. The likes of Zion Lewis, as well as star infielders such as Jack Burke, Juan Figueroa, and obviously the big bat in Danny Tome. You'll see all of them on the offensive side of the ball in the bottom half of the inning, as Carrasquillo is up in a 1-ball count against the left-hander for the Cleveland Guardians Nike RBI side, Jack Britton. Another left-hander, Ryan. We came into this one, haven't seen a whole lot of left-handers the last 2 games now. Southpaw after southpaw after southpaw.
You know, as an enjoyer of southpaw pitchers, I've found it very fun, and they've taken something out of this game. They've created new angles into it.
Base hit as Lewis lets it drop in front of him, so 2 on and only 1 out for the Cubs.
And I think that's just something to say about the younger age of ball players nowadays. They realize how rare and effective it is to have a lefty, especially if you can go out there and pump low 90s and have a good off-speed pitch. You're going to be utilized not only at this level, but the college level and then minors to majors. So if you can get them really going here, you can go as many pitchers as you want until you finally find who clicks.
So this brings up the shortstop for the Cubs. It is Jordan Vasquez, the Fenwick High School product, just graduated this past spring. His final year in the program, and he takes a strike.
And back to those lefties, it's a really nice novelty to have, because these two teams almost certainly faced righties in their first 2 games. So now you're thrown out for a must-win game 3, and it's a completely different type of observation you have to make as a guy at the plate.
Now for Austin, for you, plan of attack as a right-handed hitter against a lefty. What does that look like for you?
So in this situation, you got a guy like Vasquez, already 0-2. Honestly, I would let the first pitch go right past you. You got to feel out what is being thrown on the mound from Britton. We saw it last year. He's going to utilize that heater a lot, but he's going to go to that slider every now and then as an out pitch.
Ground ball right side. Burke bobbles it. His only play is to first, where Britton's there to cover and bail him out.
So really seeing that first pitch, you saw his fastball is going to run a lot arm side into the belt area of hitters. So if you really are sitting on that heater, you got to be prepared to roll your hands over. Might want to sit a little bit back in the box and wait on it more.
Gus Padilla becomes the hitter with 2 out, 2 in scoring position This Cubs side looking to strike early, which we did not see last night. First pitch from Britton. Padilla takes, it's a strike.
Well, wasn't that Tigers game? That was something special. I mean, it took them a while to get going, but I think, and I want to see if they found something. That big 4-run inning was huge for the momentum. It got them the win. It got them up here where we're at there, where now they've got a chance to go and win it all. So let's see if that momentum can continue and see if it's less of a surprise inning for the Cubs and more of this offensive explosion that yields more success later on.
But it's also a good sign, at least in my opinion. I want to get your guys' thought on that. They faced some adversity in that game because of just how funky it really was and how funky those 6 innings played. This is chopped back to the mound. We'll have an answer for this question after this break. Britton flips to Burke, and the Cubs Nike RBI side strand 2. Bottom 1 up next here on the Windy City Sports Network. No score as we hit the home half of the first inning. And it'll be a very familiar bat to this tournament and to the audience at home. Daniel Tome leads things off for this Cleveland side. And he was absolutely phenomenal a tournament ago.
And how could he not be? He was one of those premier guys. He is the backstop normally when he's defending, so he's not only the field general, he's basically the offensive general as well. He's the guy who's setting up the warships and locking and loading them for when they're needed to unload.
He's catching today, and he takes a 1-0 pitch that's just off the corner, and he goes up 2 balls and no strikes.
We love a good leadoff catcher. He's got a lot of power, a lot of pop, but surprisingly, some sneaky speed in that leadoff spot.
He skies the 2-0 pitch into left field. This is where Gus Padilla is playing tonight. He's underneath it and has the first out defensively for this Cubs Nike RBI side. Let's give you the defense today. You just saw Padilla out there in left field. Harvey is in center. Arroyo and right on the infield around the horn from third to first is Correa and Vasquez on the left side. Cincinnati and Gonzalez on the right side. Salazar catches the right-handed pitcher for this Cubs RBI team, Pedro Hernandez, number 00. How often do you see a starting pitcher wearing that one?
I don't really think I see any baseball players wearing 00. We talked about this yesterday, Kevin. The most common time you're going to really see that is in the NBA.
Hernandez has played the field throughout the first couple of games for this Cubs Nike RBI side, but he now toes the slab in what has now become their biggest game of the weekend.
And it has to be their biggest game of the weekend. The fact that you're 1-0-1 Luckily for them, that tie the first day is sitting a little bit prettier than it looked right at the beginning of it all.
Cincinnati at second, and there's 2 gone.
So you're just going to have to keep playing on the leverage that they're using. They don't have a loss. The fact that they tied the last year's champions and they just saw a loss against them by way of Detroit has to have you feeling good. And that win yesterday against Detroit, if you want to go by, process of carrying the 2, doing all the math there, they might have been able to have beaten the White Sox team.
I was about to ask this question, though. How does that look now for this Cubs team, given the fact that they tied a team that now currently sits at 1-1-1?
See, that's a weird way to really think about it all, because you don't see a lot of ties. You don't really see any ties ever in baseball, so you don't think about that extra 1. So it's really the run totals amongst all of them.
Left center field for Harvey Jr. And it's a quick 3-up, 3-down inning for Pedro Hernandez. We're through 1 already. No score here on the Windy City Sports Network. Top of the second inning is upon us already after each side traded scoreless first. Cubs got a couple of early hits, though, and it really allowed them to put some early pressure on Jack Britton.
Yeah, it's something you got to do early. Britton showed us last year that he's got the ability to be a guy for this Guardians team, and ability. He can go out there, he can hunt, and getting a couple of early knocks off him important for your psyche and important for the other team as well, because, well, hey, you're going to get them a little off their kilter. And I think you talked about it a little earlier with this Cubs team. We're trying to see if that inning against Detroit last night was a jump starter for them offensively, because they only had 2 runs against the Sox. They couldn't quite get going until that inning against the Tigers, and it turned out that those 2 teams very similar level. We learned that, hey, that's maybe where the Cubs reside, but this Guardians team could be a level above, so some early opportunities are big.
In the air, left center field, long run for Lewis, but he tracks it down in deep left center.
Saw him do that a lot last year, Kevin. I remember the first couple of games, especially when they would go up against Cincinnati, a bunch of long ones were hit into that left center gap. You have him there for his speed and range, and then you slot him at the 9-hole spot as like a secondary leadoff man. He's just all around a great tool guy.
It's what the kid brings to the table, and you love that when you've got a center fielder out there that you know no matter if that ball's going to right center or left center, deep or short, he's going to check it in and check it out and get it done. It's a confidence booster for the rest of the outfield, but also those 2 middle infielders who normally have to cover a lot of ground themselves in a bigger park like this. To know that Zion's out there and he's going to get everything is huge.
Meanwhile, it's a 1-1 count now to George Salazar. He's the Cubs catcher this evening. And you talk about defense, you can't really speak of it in this tournament without mentioning George Salazar as he punches this one weakly to first base. It's an easy play for Burke, and there's 2 out. He's been a key factor, though, Salazar has been, And like I said, he's probably one of the best defenders in terms of catchers in the entire tournament.
He is one of the best defenders, just what we've seen top to bottom from every team that's played here at Curtis Granderson Stadium. But there's also a factor. You're going to have ABs like that. It's in on the knuckles. I get you're trying to fight it off. But sometimes let that pitch go. We said that that lefty arm side run on the fastball, it's going to run into you beltways. So you're going to want to sit back or even take a half step back in the box. We didn't see that there from Salazar.
Luis Gonzalez, the first baseman for the Cubs, fouls that one off to even out the count. This is a Cleveland team who is 1-1. They're fresh off a loss of the Chicago White Sox program last night. And really they're trying to find themselves here in game number 3, which is something we did not say a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's something they're trying to figure out, trying to go to, and good starts are important at this level. You get off to a good start, especially when you're late in the day like this, you're chasing the clock and also chasing daylight. You want to find a way to get pitch counts up and runs high early. We've seen the team who's had a lot of success early, stayed aggressive early, has always had a little bit more success in the win and loss column.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 away. The pitch from Britton's down and out. And the count goes full.
And one of really the only concerns, and I put that in air quotes for Jack Britton, is because there's so much run on that fastball. If he's not able to locate a certain pitch, could be reps.
Tome has to fire quickly and he throws it away. So it's a strikeout there for Britton, but the runner is on first base as Tome could not handle the breaking ball.
And it's good base running as well. And for Tome, that's a struggle. You get it, you get in a good spot. You've got to make a tough throw, and you give Burke a chance to field it. That's just good stuff from Gonzalez to be heads up, be aware, and beat it out.
The pitcher, Pedro Hernandez, comes up 2 out. Takes a strike on the inside corner.
And I'm very interested to see this matchup because Pedro Hernandez, when he bats, at this point right here, he's facing him straight up. But watch his front left foot when the pitch comes in. He steps out and back. So he's really opening up not only his chest but his hips to get as much flexor power as possible. But with a guy running inside, you don't know what you're going to get.
The one problem with the way he's opening up his hips is there's not enough speed through. So he's getting open, but he's not twisting around through. He's losing some power there as well.
Up the middle, that's Figueroa making the play at short to end the frame. So nothing comes of Gonzalez reaching on the drop third strike. Cleveland comes back to back for the second time when you return after this. Bottom 2, and Cleveland comes to bat for the second time, and they will lead it off with the 4-hole man. It's Juan Figueroa. Figueroa, let's just face it, he was a stud on both sides of the ball last year.
Oh, he definitely was. The thing I remember is the game that he pitched. He went through about 5 or 6 innings and was grunting from the first pitch until the last pitch, and it only got faster the louder the grunts got.
He swings a 1-0 and senses one down the right field line. Arroyo in foul ground, can't make the catch on the dive.
We saw Arroyo do something similar to that last night, Kevin, where he was ranging really hard and fast to his left and had to pump the brakes last second, but he did make it. That time he went full Superman and couldn't bring it in.
You think that young man knows he was on marquee today?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
This is grounded to third. Correa, who is not hitting but just playing the field, makes the play.
See, I didn't know that documentary was up until about 2.5 hours ago.
Feature story that we had the incredible opportunity of producing for Cubs Charities as well as Marquee Sports Network that aired on Cubs Live, the pregame show for the Cubs on Marquee Sports Network. And one of the players we featured was Xavier Arroyo, who's out in right field today for this Cubs Nike RBI side.
I was just happy to see the Red Sox loss yesterday.
What a hater.
That brought my joy back.
It was Xavier Arroyo of this 18U team, Elias Diaz, who's a catcher on the 15U Cubbies, and Yaneli Contreras, who's on the softball squad. She's also a catcher, DH'd for them this tournament.
Saw her pinch run and pinch hit today.
Dog.
How'd she fare?
She got on.
She did her job then.
She came around to score when she was a pinch runner and when she got up to bat.
Dog.
Knows her role.
2-1. That's back up the middle. Hernandez can't make the play. Charging is the shortstop. Vasquez, the play is close, and he's safe. Bang, bang play. You guys, on first glance, appear to be torn on that one.
Yeah, I went out at first, and then I kind of subtly, slowly turned my fist into a little bit of a swiping motion. I think he was safe by a hair. I'm a big tie goes to the runner guy, though.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. It did look really close at first, like he might have gotten it, but in this situation, there is no replay. You're just going to have to go on feel.
We did have one call get overturned earlier in the day. It was on a play in which a guy was attempting to get back to third base as Rivera smacks that one back up the middle for a base knock. So back-to-back one-out singles here for Cleveland in the second, and they got something cooking early.
Yeah, I like this now. Cleveland getting aggressive, starting to swing a little harder, starting to get into the groove of this game. We talked about it last game. That 3-hour break was hard for the two teams playing. Well, these guys have been here since, I don't know, 3 o'clock. So they've been hanging around too, sitting around in chairs, in their cars, in their buses, trying to figure it out. So they're just as tight maybe as the Tigers and Sox were in the last one. So getting loose early, starting to swing, stretch out, and feel out the rhythm of this game could be very important.
And I think there's just something to be said about a team that could have potentially sat for 3 to 4 hours and then come on immediately and just start the prowess that we know they're going to come with. And it looks good already.
Did you ever do that? Sit around in 3-4 hours in your car seat with your mom or your dad while you were at a park?
When I was a kid?
Or, I mean, when you were playing?
Yeah, I did a couple of times. I remember one vivid situation. I was stuck in the car. Wow, that was a far one. Stuck in the car.
That's the best chance to have us catch a ball all
Exactly.
week.
That's why I was surprised.
Bunt, too.
But I was in the car. It was a doubleheader in New Jersey. It was a morning fall ball game, and it was raining. So we ended up sitting in our cars for 2 hours. I went into the game, and I couldn't feel my hands. I got a bunt single, stole twice. Felt good. You were just tired. That it's a long day. So you want to go out there and give it everything you got.
0-1. And way out in front of that and sending it into his own dugout is Jaden Hurd. He's the right fielder for Cleveland.
Yeah, I think, it would have been Little League 12. I was in the minors because we split it up into majors and minors in Prescott, Arizona.
Do you remember what team you were on?
There's a lot of fun names.
I got him thinking.
I don't know. I don't remember. I have bad memory with that kind of stuff.
Anyway.
But I was second baseman. We sat around through a lightning delay in Arizona for 4 hours. It was one of those dry lightning delays, too. It was kind of crazy. We didn't do anything. I come back. I played 6 innings at second. Stole a base for the first time in my life and then moved to short and had 2 errors in an inning, and I never played shortstop again. I still, to this day, blame sitting in a car for 4 hours.
And
you have to have one, Kevin.
You can
You're
only.
a pitcher. There's got to be one.
I have one as a fielder, not as a pitcher. None of my starts ever got delayed.
Okay, so.
And it was, I was 12 years old. We were in Cooperstown.
Okay.
Subtle flex.
I've done that too. If we're throwing flexes out there, but
a lot of 12-year-olds do. It's still a cool
that's
experience.
The point. Yeah.
It's besides the point. But we had a giant rainstorm, which the power went out in the entire village, in the entire town of Cooperstown. That's how hard the rainstorm. So we had an 8-hour rain delay.
Wow.
So we went back to our little bunkers, and we fired up the generators, and we just played card games for the entire 8 hours. It's all we could do because the technology didn't work as Gonzalez bobbles that ball, and everyone is safe. First error of the ball game, and it allows the Guardians to have the bases loaded.
You don't need technology to know that probably should have been a pretty routine grounder.
And it's tough for Gonzalez, who's moving to his right. That is where his glove hand is. He should scoop it up, but it takes a weird hop. He's moved his glove over closer towards his right foot, and it kind of hops to the in-between spot of his 2 feet. He's got to change his glove last second. He can only keep it in front, and it takes a weird hop on the turf because of the spin after that. It bounces away from the bag, and he's got to do that much more work just to get there. Doesn't help that his pitcher was late to get off the bump either.
And some of the swings that we saw, the single from Rivera, the way that he hit it right back up the middle, there was some back curvature to it, like it was a two-seamer coming off the bat. So there's definitely been some balls that have been moving a lot more.
And how tough is that? I know that ball, when it spins so much on grass, is that ball tougher to field when it's on turf, Austin?
So based on what I've seen, well, my summer ball team, they like to use turf. So there's that lip exchange. There's a difference from the quote-unquote dirt turf in the infield and the grass turf. That lip, it has the ball. One, it'll slow it down, and two, it'll make it spin more and bounce. So when you get on grass, there is a chance that if it's not groomed properly, not seeded, all of that stuff, that it could also die. So it's really 50-50 depending on the field.
But you don't have that lip, though, like you do here on turf.
You do not have that lip here. You also don't have it with that grass, so it sometimes just depends if it's an uneven infield, if you're playing at a weird angle. Sometimes it has an effect and sometimes it doesn't. You really don't know until you feel it out.
Yes. Leo Ellington is in a 1-2 hole with the bases loaded and one away. Hernandez kicks, deals. Called, strike 3. Curveball on the outside corner, and a big second out for Hernandez.
And that's the pitch that I think Pedro's been looking for, just to find one on the corner, get a guy to stare at it. You always, as a pitcher, waiting for that one, waiting for the chance you get to freeze somebody. You get that wry smile on your face when you turn back around and look at your middle infielders, and you know, I got him. There's some confidence and there's some swag that comes with that.
That one misses down and away. And it's Zion Lewis, the center fielder, who rounds out the lineup card for Cleveland this evening.
And I think there's something to say, Ryan, about that strikeout right there. The fact that there are 3 guys on and he got him looking. You're not even really thinking about it. You don't worry about the guys on. I completely forgot there were 3 guys on and I'm here watching the game. That's how big of a strikeout that could be. If it affected me in that kind of a mindset, what about everybody else?
It puts you in this just plane of existence where it's like, it's just me out here, guys.
It's a 1-1 count to Lewis. Hernandez trying to get out of this inning unscathed. He has yet to throw a pickoff attempt thus far to prove both of your guys' point on his focus right now.
So we've seen Zai out there in center field. We know he's got the speed. I pose this to either of you guys who watched him last year. What's he like at the plate? Is he someone who's pretty disciplined? Does he have the opportunity to go out there? Is he going to get for some pop anywhere?
So what I've seen just from his ABs and what I somewhat remember off the top of my head is he's going to be a disciplined hitter. He's going to wait for it to come to him, even if he is in a 2-strike approach. If he's sitting and he thinks it could be on the paint, he still might let it go past him if he's really confident in that. He'll have some juice. He'll find the alleys. He's going to be a guy normally, though, who pokes it and tries to shoot down the line.
3 balls, 1 strike. They're loaded. Walker on third, Rivera on second, Hurd on first. Big swing and a miss there. The count goes full.
And Pedro showed you that with the little exchange of the fists. About a full count with 2 outs and a bases loaded early on.
Early turning point in this game. Long hold by Hernandez. The payoff pitch. Bloop down the left field line. That's a fair ball. Walker in. Rivera flying around. He will score. Zion Lewis, a clutch 3-2 two-out double. And Cleveland takes an early 2-0 lead.
And I just told you guys, he's going to wait for the pitch even in that 2-strike count. He'll bloop it, and he did find the line. That's his bread and butter. He's going to hit it to the spots where no one's going to be, and the speed shows you that even if it's right behind the bag of the third baseman, he could still be on second.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. He took a half of an inch of a choke up on the bat, and it turned into some contact, turned into just enough to slip it over the top, and he's got the speed to get around for two, and that's a big start for Cleveland. Those early runs are so massive when you're trying to shake off some dust been sitting around.
This game was originally slated for 4 o'clock local time. We're in the bottom of the second inning, and it's just past 7:15 local time, just to show you how long these two sides have been waiting. As the top of the order, and Tome cuts and misses to even out the count.
Must have been a long first inning.
Must have been.
Must have been.
Must have been the 2019 London Series type of first inning.
Cleveland last year put up some long innings offensively. The opening game against Minnesota being the perfect example of that, where they put up a 7-run first inning in their first game in the tournament.
It was an 8:30 first pitch, and I remember you and I had hit a point, Kevin, where we were so just dumbfounded by the fact that that early in the morning they were going after it and being go-getters, that we started talking about Terrence Gore.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Braves legend.
Let's not do it again.
I don't plan on it.
Oh, we were killing it there.
3-1, first base is open should he walk Tome. You had to bring him up.
Once a tournament. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. And Tome works the 5-pitch walk.
And that's what Tome can bring. And we talk about it, the pop, the power, the speed. We talked about him defensively as the captain of the defense, the guy behind the plate, but that's plate discipline. And that's the biggest thing I always am looking for a leadoff guy. Can you get on base any way possible? And that includes getting walked. It's not the sexiest thing to ever look at, but sometimes it matters more than anything else. Your OBP is so huge, he gets on. You get a quick guy to come in for a courtesy runner, and now you're loaded again just because Tome sat in and said, hey, I don't have to swing at this. I'm just going to get on.
The courtesy runner, by the way, is Sam Robinson. He's an outfielder who will come off the bench and will run for the catcher Tome in the situation. So they're loaded again for the second time this inning. And up comes Andres Martinez. 0 for 1 for ground out to second base. He's got the nickname Dries, and he takes the first pitch strike. Breaking ball skied into left field. Vasquez going out, Padilla coming in. It'll be the shortstop going out, and Vasquez, who lays claim to it, and ends the second inning. But it's a good inning for Cleveland. They score first on a 2 RBI double by Zion Lewis. We're for 2 here on WCSN. The top of the order comes up in the top of the third, and Antoine Harvey Jr. takes a strike. Kevin Malater, Ryan Sikora, Austin Groom. Guys, so far, 2 innings down after these two teams were both delayed by several hours. And right now, Cleveland seems to have their footing.
They just seem a little more awake. We saw something a little similar from the Cubs, at least I did in the only game I've gotten to see the Cubs so far, that Detroit game. Slow starters, couldn't really string together a big inning, and eventually they kept it close enough, played great defense, had good enough pitching, and finally the bats came alive and blew open. Plenty of baseball left. We know that their offense, when it can get there, can really fly, but we're seeing a similar theme now. Was it similar in the Sox game, the opening night game, where they kind of got slow out of the gates, or was it the other way around?
It was a mixture of both,
Okay.
honestly. There was, maybe a couple of hits here or there, maybe 1 or 2 runs. But after that point, it was just the pitchers that were deadlocked in a stalemate, just going back and forth.
In the air, center field, Lewis has to run a long way, but he gets there in the deepest part of the ballpark for out number 1.
I like these two center fielders. Zion Lewis covers a lot of ground, and Harvey Jr., who just launched one out there, he gets there too. They're all really, really good at covering ground. Two of the better center fielders we've seen it doing that. So far, even at 18, you expect these guys to cover some ground. We've still seen a lot of balls get over the heads of people when they fully turn, and it's really nice to see a couple of center fielders that are covering every inch of grass that they can.
And for Harvey, that's now 2 hard hit balls that have both resulted in outs. He had that line out back in the first inning to start the game, and now that flat to the deepest part of the park.
Yeah, it's a tough draw.
It's just something about it. The fact that he's barreling it up, it's bound to break for him.
The 0-1 to Arroyo took something off of it and makes it 0-2.
Fight, kid, fight.
Arroyo singled in the first inning but was stranded at third. And Britton backdoors in for strike 3 call.
He's working quickly here. Britton, I like the pace that he's at now, almost feeding off his team on the offensive end, just saying, all right, I'm the big lefty. I'm going to go to work, go quickly, get a fly out, and then immediately get back to work on the next guy and take him down in a couple of pitches.
Carrasquillo also singled in the first inning and gets fooled by that same exact breaking ball.
And just the fact that that's a change of what he normally does. His heater runs in a lot, glove side. You just saw that breaking ball. It was an arm side stay back door. The guy who can go from in to all the way out, that's pure filth.
Yeah, he's working, he's nasty. It's hard to hit against a guy like that. You're seeing why Chicago struggled through 2 2/3.
0-2. Ground ball to second base. Martinez up with it. Close play, but he's out. So he's good through 3. Still 2-0 Cleveland. Guardians come back to bat after this break. Cleveland is back to bat. And right away, The first pitch ball there. Jack Burke comes up for the second time. Kevin Malater, Ryan Score, Austin Kroom. Game 4 on the day. Originally 6 were scheduled. The final 2 games up in the air right now. We'll have updates for you throughout the course of this one.
I'm not going to lie, at the beginning of this game, it felt like game 6. I think we've settled in. It does actually feel like it's only the 4th game. This is the most awake I've collectively seen a group of people. This is the most awake I've seen you all day.
1-1. What do you mean?
Hey, Cav.
What do you mean by that?
I'm going to tell you right now.
Buddy.
First game, you were tired.
Yeah.
Second game, you were awake, but there were some missing pieces. I think you can agree with that. And you started to tail off in between the 2 games. Third game, you were all right at the beginning. I'll admit that. I thought you were really good. Then we went to that weather delay. I thought you were going to take like 6 naps in that 3-hour weather delay. We came back. I thought you were going to take 6 naps during. You were still capable. You were still open. You were still awake. Somehow, I would have fallen asleep if I were you. And now you're up and at 'em. You're ready to go. It's almost like you've caught your 4th wind of the day.
More like the 6th wind of the day, to be honest with you.
The adrenaline rush is going through him.
And Austin just seems a lot happier today, which is always a good thing. We like a happy Austin.
Don't count it out too fast.
Look out. That one was roped back up the middle. And that's a base hit for Burke. My goodness.
A very happy Burke to stand on first. He hit that one hard. Was running, and Hernandez lucky he got out of the way, and it's only a base hit at the end of the day. Good cover from Harvey up the middle.
I was going to say, it might be a happier Pedro Hernandez that he was able to drop to the floor.
Watch your lips.
Exactly.
So a conference comes up here. Figueroa is at the plate. Figueroa grounded out to third, his lone trip up. He was a crucial 2-way piece in last year's team that made it to the title game but lost to White Sox ace.
What a thrilling year that was. That third through that second and third and really fourth if you consider what Indianapolis Circle City was last year. That battle to play against White Sox ace. It seemed like a foregone conclusion that the Sox would win whoever they were against in the final, but just a treat to get Cleveland, Cincinnati, both with a chance in that final game to get there.
It was a weekend in which White Sox ace clinched their spot in the title game because they had a plus 34 run differential after they won the 9 a.m. game Saturday morning. That's when they clinched their spot.
And it was fun to watch. I was watching it back at your place, Kevin, and I was jumping up and down seeing what was going to happen.
Austin jumping up and down. That
You're not going to see that often.
You don't see that too often. That means it's a big deal.
Yankees win. You'll get it there.
That one is a strike, and it's 1-2. But that was a game in which both Cleveland and Cincinnati were playing vicariously through 2 different teams in the nightcap.
Yeah, Kansas City and
Indianapolis.
And it was just a joy to watch. That was, I thought, the best Kansas City played a year ago. I thought that was the only chance we got to see Indianapolis. I thought they looked pretty good. It was almost disappointing to see that they had no chance to play in the final. And it was also pretty cool to see almost 150 people live tuning in, and really more because we had all this centralized group of Guardians players watching in one location. It was crazy to observe that and say, hey, this was a big game. It felt like 4 cities behind each of their 4 clubs trying to watch them do their thing.
Yeah, and the reaction. It was even posted to Cleveland Inspire's Twitter. They were going insane in their hotel room watching the broadcast, finding out that they had their spot clinched.
And there was a documentary that came out in late August of last calendar year called The Kids from Cleveland. And they posted that one clip that you said, but they showed a couple of never before seen clips of them reacting in the hotel. They had a hotel conference room with about 5 projectors. Each one of them had the game on, watching and hoping that the baseball gods would treat them well and give them a spot in Sunday's game.
And they did.
Didn't go out the way they planned, but they still got that trip to Florida as the second qualifier from this regional.
And that is the fun thing, though. They bring a lot of guys back from that team.
Runner breaks for second. The hit and run works to perfection. However, Burke had to hold up last second, so in theory, it's just a base hit to right field.
And we saw poorly executed hit and run earlier, and I think, again, in principle, it works more often than it doesn't when you can find a way to find a gap like Figueroa did. I think it was the Tigers earlier who tried to execute one. They went straight to third base. The guy, the runner, was almost already at second. It turned into a double play disaster, but that's A1 right there. You get the runner all the way to the bag, and if Burke's a little quicker, you might have a chance to turn for third, and Figueroa puts it where nobody is standing within that triangle of players.
Walker singled and scored last inning. Squares the bunt. He pops this one up, and it is a foul ball.
All right, he's got to get the bunts down. He had the one that came way up back here into the press box. That one was better. It went out and it went up still, though. And if that's any higher, any farther, the third baseman's got a chance to get him out, and that'd be kind of a disappointing play. I wonder if this is a strategic conversation or if it's like, hey, man, if we're going to have you bunt, push it down to the ground.
But how do you adjust to that, though? Because it seems like he's tried it twice now. It still just doesn't seem to work.
And I know something this might come across as kind of wild. You want to go over the ball. You're going to have to do that slap, go down on the ball. And if you miss, yes, you sometimes look like a fool. But if you keep getting under it and keep popping it up, the only way to do it is by hammering it down to the ground and just letting it die.
Pulls it back as the fastball misses high.
It's almost like a softball slap swing or whatever they call it, slap hit.
Slap hit.
Slap
where
hit.
you want to just kind of, it's not quite the full motion back and through like you'd see in softball, but it is that kind of cock it back and keep it in both hands and push it forward still.
It's somewhat like a check swing or an accidental check swing where you just kind of sit there and you go, oh, I didn't mean to swing at that, and it's now in play, and you just got to barrel down.
Down and away. It's a 2-1 count. He's still very persistent that he wants to get this bunt down.
Yeah, but he's pulled away smartly from the last two. He's starting to understand what pitches he wants to find, what pitch he wants to take, and where he wants to stay with that bunt.
Two balls, one strike. Burke on second, Figueroa on first. And it's a 3-ball, 1-strike count. Hernandez misses yet again with the fastball.
And he got it right once again, as Kevin said. I mean, perfect.
And I still like the fact that he's going for the bunt, but Ryan Correa, the third baseman, it might be looked at as somewhat underrated that he's not playing in, but with a runner on second, that being Burke, he has to be prepared for a double steal. He's playing in the perfect spot. He's somewhat screening the bag to not see if it's an open lane.
There it is again. He finally gets this one down. Hernandez bobbles it, and there is no play. Bases loaded yet again. And it's a second error for a Cubs defense that has been so solid coming into this one.
And that was the perfect bunt. You said it. He had to get on top of it. He kept pulling back. He wasn't getting the pitch he liked, whether it was a fastball too high or too low. Right in his wheelhouse, got on top of it.
Try and try again. You're eventually going to find a way to succeed. That was the perfect bunt. It was right enough in the spot where it was close enough to the pitcher to where the third baseman had to stay there. He also had to stay there because of the runner. And it was hit hard enough and far enough away from anybody to where he could get to first base very easily.
Off speed, down and away, ball 1 to Rivera, the designated hitter.
I love seeing small ball executed to perfection. You get your leadoff guy on, you get your second guy on, you get a bunt guy on, and now you load the bases, nobody out. It's perfect baseball from the Guardians in response to a 2-run inning where they looked really good at just flat out being aggressive and swinging.
And Cleveland really wasn't doing that last year. They were just going out there and swing, 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 and they kept shooting to that left center gap. There was nothing that could really stop them. It's like they had a spray chart and said, you know what, we're going to set the pitching machine to shoot it right in the same area. This is a completely different story.
It's pure progression and pure development from them from year to year. They're now more versatile. They can win in different ways other than just by pure ability, which they still have. Let's not forget. They still have a lot of those guys that could swing for days. And now you add that little extra element, that little extra wrinkle, you're a little bit harder to get out in knockout competition, these latter stages of these national events.
The conference is over. It's a 1-0 count. Cleveland currently sits at 1-1, looking for win number 2 to put themselves in a spot to be playing for another regional championship tomorrow. However, one loss would likely end it all at this point.
The implications of this game, you say them there, and you know it takes a minute to process it. But now in this situation, if they are able to capitalize, and it still gets to a point where the Cubs are able to come back, you don't know what that mindset change is going to be or has to be for the Cubs or the Guardians.
So 3-1 is the count. Hernandez in threat of walking in another run. And he does. 3-0 Guardians, Nike RBI, and that's going to be all for Pedro Hernandez.
And the end, a strong start in that first inning. Got a little off the rails at the end. of the second. He had a chance to get him out of the inning. It was a great piece of hitting from Zion Lewis that got 2 across the board, and now he's lost it in the third. Cubs need to make it stop now. They can't get any further because at the end of the day, first tiebreaker as well, if they are able to win this game, is runs allowed. So they've got to keep defensively tight too.
They do, and they will turn to a new pitcher, and we will step aside for a moment. When we come back, they look to stop the bleeding here on the Windy City Sports Network. New man on the bump. It's Max McNamara, the left-handed pitcher from Walter Payton College Prep. Just wrapped up his final year of high school, class of 2023. He's in the game, and he's in a really big spot here. First pitch swinging is heard, and he pops it foul.
You can only hope that being a lefty arm, and the fact that his release point is about that 1 and 2 area on an analog clock, he's got a weird funky leg kick. It's going to take a while as you watch his arm go up. He's really straight and muscled right towards the plate.
Good block there by Salazar, and the count evens out.
He also hides the ball, so you don't know what he's seeing when he's going for that pitch right to the plate. Some guys, you're able to see the grip and expect something. He's hiding it, almost like putting his wrist back or behind his head.
Another big hack there from Hurd. He was late on it, and the count goes to 1 and 2.
It's a strong throw as well.
But this is a pressure intense spot to be coming in here. No one out, the bases are loaded, and you're trying to do damage control here in a spot where things can quickly get away from you.
And damage control is one of the hardest jobs to have as a pitcher. And this middle to long release situation is also the most difficult pitching aspect of any game. You're normally brought in a situation where you have to fight through a lot of trash and difficulty. So the fact that you have to swim your way through it and do well puts a lot of pressure on a guy.
That one misses, and the count goes full. The 3 runners on base, and Figueroa on third, Walker on second, and Rivera on first, are all Hernandez's responsibility. That's ball 4, and it's 4-0 Guardians.
It's not pretty for the Chicago Nike RBI group. That's just an inch or 2 away from being the right pitch from the new man, but you're right there. You've got a good arm. You clearly can chuck it if you want to. You hide it. You've got all the mechanics right. You've got all the confusing things going on. Pound the strike zone. Take advantage of all those confusing things and force these guys to get hits and try and see stuff that they're not really going to be able to see.
High fastball to Ellington, ball 1.
And the fact that he's able to level, he's got that good heater, the hide ability. You said he can really chuck it. He's basically a picture-perfect mirror-to-mirror image of Garrett Crochet, the reliever for the White Sox. That leg kick, they throw hard. He's got that really good sweeping breaking ball. It's just got to find that control aspect.
What a great pull. First and foremost, that was fantastic. I think that, again, something like this is going to yield with all these different little idiosyncrasies that he has. It's going to yield some command issues at times, and that's why we're seeing him miss upstairs. It's the size, it's the height advantage. You've really got to get down and through. We saw that problem with Sammy Castillo in the previous game for the White Sox. He was their starter. He couldn't get the ball down and in the zone, and he was a little bit chaotic everywhere.
Up the middle, and that one hits the umpire, and now the play is going to be killed immediately. And so now this is going to bring up a fun little scenario here, and the umpiring crew is going to talk things over. That one got him right on the shoulder.
He looks okay.
I mean, that wasn't the most hard hit of things. It's going to leave a mark, but I thought it was going to get over him and would just be a two-hopper to the second baseman.
And there's nothing you can do about that. The umpire is in the field of play. He's part of it. If it hits him, it rarely does, then you just got to continue to play. That's unfortunate for the Cubs, and sometimes you have games like this, right, where you have the inability to find a bounce. There's just nothing going their way.
So it's an RBI single. Everyone else gets 90 feet, and it's 5-0. Bunt up the third base line from Lewis. There is no play anywhere, and it's 6-0 Cleveland. The Guardians' Nike RBI squad has awoken.
Austin, you got to know your spots there defensively.
Oh, you definitely have to in that situation. You're not really going to expect, with no outs and the bases being juiced, a bunt, but you have to look at who is batting. It's Zion Lewis, the guy who's got the wheels, who made it to second on something that barely made it out of the infield. So you have to realize who's up and make the adjustment on the fly.
First baseman comes in, pitcher goes to the same spot, second baseman's late to go cover first, and because they all trying to converge at the same spot, they don't really get the opportunity right, especially when you've got the bases loaded. You're going to look home first. You're not quick enough there, and with Lewis's speed, you're never going to be quick enough to first. It's just, again, a tough spot, but the Cubs can be better in those moments, I'm sure.
So Tome comes up with the bases loaded, and McNamara will have to tuck in his jersey.
It's been hanging out for the last couple of
Untucked Kyrie.
ABs.
It's quickly 0-2. All runners who have scored so far were under Hernandez's responsibility. His line is officially closed as the 0-2 pitch from McNamara comes in. Tome flails at it, and he just got a piece of it.
Almost hit that security camera. So I don't know about you guys, but a couple of weeks ago, the team I broadcast for in the Summer League, we were at Holly Springs, North Carolina, and one of the players fouled off a light and completely shattered it in the playing field.
No swing. And they won't even ask.
I can't say I've completely shattered a light before.
Have you seen that at least? Whether it's a YouTube video or in person on the call.
No, but I bet you it looks cool.
It was quite cool. I will not lie.
Isn't there a movie scene with it?
From The Natural?
Yeah.
Yes. But, like, that was a towering shot. That's where the saying light tower power comes from. This was, they had the grandstand around and just had the lights hit up, and he hit a foul ball, and it hit it and just shattered.
Light tower power came from The Natural?
You just learned a lot, didn't you?
2 balls, 2 strikes. Meanwhile, Tome takes it high.
And this is still the control issues we're seeing from McNamara. He's missing upstairs. He needs to get through, needs to start attacking. And Tome, we've already seen it this inning. Patient guy. He's got the ability to go after hits, but he's going to sit on stuff and force you to walk him. Don't give him another free runner.
Ground ball, right side, base hit. Hurd will come across. Ellington holds, so they go station to station and make it 7-0.
Keep on moving the line, and Danny Tome showing up again. There goes that man again. He's so good in the big spots. He comes up with clutch hits, and this is a 5-run third already for the Guardians. There's still nobody out.
It's a well-oiled machine that is being put on the field, and it seems like nobody can be stopped at this point. Still nobody away.
I think they might be back, guys.
And I think they might be the best team here.
I want you to put the word out.
That was a statement right there after all day the rhetoric has been Cincinnati or Minnesota.
I mean, we've seen the Royals. We know where they're at. Decent team, not enough for what we're wanting to see from our upper echelon programs. I loved what we saw from the Tigers the last game. I loved what we saw from Indianapolis this morning.
Infield fly rule will mean this is out number 1 in the frame.
And it still almost caused some confusion.
I think we're looking at, again, Kansas City is the clear bottom feeder. As much as they have some good pieces, they're 8, right? You got the Tigers and Indy, and then probably the Sox ace, and maybe this Cubs group, and sort of another tier above that Royals team where they're all kind of in the same gray area, but they're all pretty solid.
Meanwhile, McNamara almost threw that one to the light towers, and Burke is up in the AB.
It's just disastrous at times. And then you're throwing the upper echelon 3 of Guardians, Reds, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I would not have believed to have said this on Thursday night. The Twins, who right now hold claim to that second spot. The Guardians very likely, if results hold as they are, overtaking them for the number 2 spot. But I don't know. It's between Cleveland and Cincinnati, the 2 Ohio teams, and I think the Guardians have displayed, in albeit 3 innings of in-person eye, a more complete, well-rounded group and a more consistent group than I've seen from Cincinnati, who have the ability 1 through 6, that 9-hitter through the 5-hitter. But this is a complete machine that Cleveland have put together.
Popping this one foul to even out the count is Jack Burke. He singled to lead off this inning. But when you talk about, let alone Thursday, this was post-game Friday morning after they walked off Indy on that dramatic Aiden Walsh walk-off inside the park home run. Still the talk, though, was, well, that was a nice little upset here. Coming to the plate is Gonzalez. The throw is in time, 2 gone. They get the force there on the lead runner.
The awareness on that play. I really like that because any guy could have gone, you know what, let's just get the easy out at first, but realizing you cannot allow any more. This game is getting closer and closer to run rule territory. You have to get the runner.
And you trust the force as well. You know that it's a force everywhere. You know he just has to step on the bag. There's no wasted motion trying to slide in a tag. So it kind of becomes the obvious answer if you're smart enough to figure it out on the field, which a lot of these kids are, and a lot of these kids will always be.
Figueroa does his best Juan Soto impression as he takes ball 1 inside.
You were saying you had a question going about, think this morning or Friday morning?
You said Thursday. You just said a couple moments ago that Thursday morning, if you would have told you that the Twins were serious contenders, even after they won against Indy on that dramatic walk-off inside the park home run, that still was the case. A lot of people were still thinking, oh, well, that was a nice little upset the Twins just had.
Yeah, we came back the next game and said, okay, well, they're playing the Royals. This is a team we expect to kind of be on a similar plane as them, and they demolished them. A 10-0, that was our first run rule on the 18U side of the week, and they looked the part, and they played really well today at times. It got away from them in moments, and that was when we really saw the Twins of last year. But guess what? We still didn't even see that because they still made really great baseball moments.
It's on the ground. Cincinnati can go to first, and he will to finally end the frame. A 5-run 3rd inning for Cleveland Guardians Nike RBI, and they take a massive 7-0 lead through 3. Well, things have changed dramatically as we hit the top of the fourth inning as Cleveland holds a commanding 7-0 lead. Tapping later, Ryan Secor, Austin Kroom, first pitch swinging, and sending it on the ground to second is Vasquez, and it's a quick one pitch, one out of Jordan Vasquez, and now he moves to 0-2 on the night. And for this Cubs team, Austin, how do they get back in it? Because you're down by 7. Things are quickly getting away from you, and outs become more of a premium for you offensively. What's the talk in the dugout right now, and how do you at least make this a fight?
So it's a really difficult spot to find yourself in, Kevin. I mean, nobody wants to see an odd number up there on the board to your 0.
That's back to Britton, and this is going to be 2 quick outs here in the fourth inning.
But you just got to go back to the basics of baseball. Kevin, you remember when you were a kid, when they tell you, look, we're going to do some tee work. We're just going to try to drive it through, have good ABs, and just feel confident in yourself. You're still seeing those tee works and those confident hit motions and doing all that. I saw it just a week ago in the summer ball league I work for. Guys are going back to the basics, and that's what the Cubs have to do. Go back to the bases, go station to station, keep passing it, work some counts. Feel confident. You're out there because you're the best on the north side, so they're going to play like it and should play like it because it's getting closer to the end.
However, it's really hard with the way Jack Britton's been pitching.
Oh, yes, it's way easier to say that in character and not be there with the stick in your hand trying to go up against the guy who's really dealing.
Off the mitt of Britton, off the bat of Cincinnati, and it's a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning for Jack Britton. Cleveland rolling right now, feeling themselves. Looking like the 2022 Guardians. Bottom 4, back after this. Bottoms 4, 7-0 is the score.
Basically, it could be the bottom of the 6th, the way this game's been going and the way the day's been going, though. It's been quite a long one.
Walker, Rivera, Hurd lead things off as this Cleveland team is starting to look like the Cleveland of old. And that's scary.
Not surprising, though. It's only going to take a couple days with only having real 4 games before a potential playoff push, you're going to have to lock in as fast as possible.
Line drive, is that caught? Yes, it is. Vasquez with a nice play on the slide. He got him out both ways anyways. Home plate umpire making the call saying it was out on the catch. But Vasquez wanted to be sure, so he threw him out at first.
Can't count it as 2, but it was as pretty as 2 of them. Let's go to L6 on that.
And I mean, hey, Cleveland just had a good quick inning on the defensive side, so Chicago's trying to find their way back into this one. Momentum-wise, you need a couple of defensive plays to get that going.
Rivera swings first pitch, and he grounds it back to McNamara. 2 gone in the inning.
I like the boys from Ohio staying aggressive, though, trying to swing away. They're not satisfied with 7-zip. They want to keep hunting for more runs. They know how important that is right now.
By the way, we've just received word. The next game here at Curtis Granderson will be the Detroit Tigers Nike RBI against the winner of this game right here. So right now it appears that'll be Cleveland-Detroit. But until this game goes final, the winner of this one will take on Detroit. Right after this one, about a half hour after this game ends, it'll be a 5-inning contest, and the time limit will be 2 hours compared to the normal 2:15 we have.
Got to strike fast.
That's going to be a rumble. You know there's going to be some fireworks early. Not only with whatever teams are going to be playing Detroit, they just got off a good one. They sat for a couple hours, and they got back, and they were hot. And then if it's Cleveland, the way it's looking at this point, they're going to continue to look hot.
Hurd gets his first hit of the ball game after starting out 0 for 1 with a walk.
Austin, sounds like you and I have some homework. We have to remember how many runs the Guardians had in the first 5 innings of this game so we can reference the next game, you know?
Light work.
You think we can remember that?
Easy.
I don't.
I can.
I have no idea.
What's
if we're
the
gonna be able to
fellas'
do that.
mathematical skills over here?
You know, I got through a very advanced algebra in high school. I took 1 math class because that's all my major required when I got to Arizona State, which obviously the Harvard of the West.
Go Devils.
Then, you know, I haven't taken math in 2 years.
The math tells me that that's out number 3.
That would be correct.
And we will go to the 5th inning. Still 7-0 in favor of Cleveland here on the Windy City Sports Network. Top 5, Cubs, Nike, RBI. Need to get back into this one in a hurry as they finally got Cleveland to go scoreless offensively for the first time since the first inning.
That'll make the numbers a little bit easier to remember.
Still having that great math discussion as Hurd can't run this down in right field.
How about this for math? The Cubs have not gotten a guy on base in the last 6 batters.
That's also some math.
They have struggled to move the line or even get the line going.
It was a fielder's choice of Hernandez, which came way back in the second inning. Hernandez is due up 3rd in this frame.
And so when you're trailing by 7 runs, you got to start by getting guys on base.
There it is.
And there we go.
Hit by pitch, the first one of the ball game, and George Salazar is the leadoff man aboard.
I don't know if he's ever been happier to have a sore back right foot.
Not a lot of padding there. Here's Gonzalez, the first baseman. He reached on a strikeout his last time up. And he'll be courtesy ran for Pedro Hernandez. So Hernandez will now, after being removed from the pitching spot, will be the courtesy runner, which means Max McNamara is on deck. Outside corner fastball just below the zone, 2-0.
Something tells me McNamara can swing it.
I'm going to have to double that statement.
Sometimes looks can deceive, but he certainly, as much as anybody we've seen on this Cubs roster, and you could argue throughout the entirety of the 8 teams in this level, he looks the part.
He definitely doesn't. The warm-up hacks he's taking right now when he's on deck, they look good. But there's also a difference between looking good on deck, in the cages, and then eventually in the box.
Strike one, late call there, and Gonzalez thought he had a free ticket to first. Shot on and miss, and Britton's right back in this one.
I'm interested to see what the out pitch is here. I think he honestly might try to go arm side with a fastball. We haven't seen him do that yet.
Just got a piece of it. He may have chased there.
That was more middle. So it wasn't necessarily arm side, but you could see he's not trying to pull it as hard as he normally does.
And we'll check in on the courtesy runner on Hernandez, and Pedro's back in there with a dive. Three balls, 2 strikes. Britton still working on that shutout. Ball 4. He has issued out 2 free passes to start the 5th inning.
Yeah, that was definitely an arm side miss. That was way over his helmet.
Thanks for the understatement of the game. And it's good for the Cubs. It's really good for the Cubs to get 2 on with nobody out. You're giving the Guardians a taste of their own medicine, finding ways to get guys on base. For Britton, he's been really good. He's found moments. Still, I believe, hasn't given up a hit since that first inning where the Cubs got 2 singles or 2 knocks. And he's been flowing along nicely, but he's starting to lose a little bit of the control. Can you find a way to get back on the same page with your catcher, connect, and get back in rhythm?
This might be time for a strategic mound visit between the two.
Tome sets up low and away on the 1-1. And he misses in that same spot.
I think you may also want to, if it's another free pass or hit by pitch given, not even a hit, if it is one of the 2 that have just happened, you have to get one of those coaching staffs out there for that conference as well.
He hits him to load the bases.
Just takes 1. And then a second one comes, and then a third one comes, and now you flip it to the top of the lineup. So 7, 8, 9 all get on base. Success has to happen. It's the same thing we said with the Guardians earlier. You've got the bases loaded. A couple of guys need to cross, so we'll see. It's a necessity, I think, from here that Cleveland, and they will, go talk to their man on the bump and try and figure out what's going on with him, because he's been really good through 4 innings, and now it's gone up in the air.
So the conference here will occur with the entire infield. The top of the order is currently awaiting. That's Antoine Harvey. And a big spot here. Austin, you mentioned after the walk he gave up to Gonzalez, the arm side miss. How do you go about correcting that?
And that's where it gets tough, because a guy like Antoine Harvey, he's going to be a spectacle you don't want to face in this situation, because a guy with a lot of pull side power, you could see him go backside over the head of the first baseman, and that could even score all of them. You see the right fielder Hurd playing pretty far from the line. Same thing in left. So at this point, I'm honestly shooting for the corners, trying to empty the bags. And if you're Britton, got to have a guy get to it and fight him one-on-one.
Strike one. Harvey, as well as the Cubs faithful in attendance, did not like that one. Tome got the block down there. And people are getting riled up here. They can feel how big of a moment this could be for Cubs Nike RBI.
The arrow's going still.
Paints it, and it's 1-2.
It's a great response. Much needed. Dig deep and find a way. One out, just like getting one guy on base, can lead to another and another, and all you need is 3.
Two and two.
I think they keep asking, is that a strike when it goes way outside? I'm a fan of sarcastic humor. That's funny.
Harvey backed up the middle. This could be 2. Figueroa to second for 1. On to first, he threw it away. Hernandez scores. Coming around is Gonzalez to score. And so they find a way, and they score 2.
Seems that McNamara is standing on third, and the coaching staff for Cleveland is asking, is he even out on second? Why is he still on the base path?
They're also asking for the possible infringement on a double play ball. None is given. Still waiting for a signal on second base. I thought he got him at second base on the stepping on the base.
Says he
But
didn't.
right now, McNamara standing on third. There was a signal of an out. I don't know where it was, but someone signaled out.
I believe it was the middle infielder stepping on the bag. How does an out just disappear?
I love Ellington, the third baseman right now, hitting him with the old arms out, legs crouched. What are you doing here, bro? Like, that's fantastic. If he's out, he's out. If they corrected it, they didn't really give a clear signal of a correction. And that's even better for the Cubs.
The opposite field off the bat of Arroyo and down. This will roll a long way. McNamara in. Harvey scores easily. Arroyo will head back to second base as the ball rolls underneath the fence down the right field line. It will be a ground rule double, and it's a 7-4 game.
And I think the fence was open out there, so it left the ballpark. How about that? Back-to-back big moments for the Cubbies. And Xavier Arroyo comes alive, comes about, and pushes one out to his spot in the outfield.
Ellington is still asking about that out call at second.
He's talking to the third base coach, and again, we still got an out signal, but...
And there's one out on the board.
So where does the out
Where does
come
the
in?
out go?
That's foul, because if there is one out, then it should be 7-3.
Yes, yes, it should be 7-3.
So
But-
there's either, this is, again,
It's out of our control.
they called it out in the moment, and I'm totally okay with the umpires correcting it.
Yes, I agree.
And if they corrected it, that's okay. They did not give a clear signal.
This is to right center field off the bat of Carrasquillo, and that's a base hit. It'll split the gap. Arroyo gonna fly around as this ball gets misplayed by Lewis and Hurd in right field. And into third safely with an RBI triple is Carrasquillo. It's 7-5.
The bats are hot, Kevin. They are going, they're flowing, they're pushing them opposite field, they're pushing it out there, and nobody's there. We saw it the first 4 innings. The Cubs couldn't find gaps. Now gaps are everywhere.
And you could see it in this top half of the inning. It got warmer, more fog rolled in. It was like a horror movie, and the only people who are scared right now gotta be the Guardians.
Their lead goes from 7 to 2 within the span of a third of an inning.
Is there an out or is there not an out? I'm going back to that.
I don't know.
I don't follow.
Off the bat of Vasquez and foul.
And meanwhile, you've got the Tigers watching down the right field line who've been here since, I don't know, we'll call it
Probably noon.
10:30,
10:30,
11 a.m. They've been hanging out all day. They watched those first 3 innings and they said, oh, Cleveland, we're watching Cleveland. We don't have to focus on anybody else. Well, now guess what? It's a ball game. The script has been flip-flopped, and it's just kind of a crazy sequence.
Getting a piece of this one, and if it stays fair, it could be a run. Instead, Burke will make the decision to let it go foul. Did you guys like that one there?
Smart from Burke.
That
let
is
it
a really
trickle,
smart play.
let it work, and hey, it also gives you a chance to breathe and settle down and give yourself a second. If you leave that in play, you leave a lot more chaos open. We don't want that if you're a Guardians fan or player or coach.
I'm still interested as to when the next person gets out, whenever that is. I want to see how the umpires react, because obviously they're going to give the out call, but what really is it? Is it 1 or is it 2? Because that changes the score.
Two balls, 2 strikes.
And the umps are in their own world, so they're not noticing the scoreboard right now. So they probably don't even see the 1 up there in left center.
Ground ball, this will score the run as Figueroa goes to first. It's a productive out. We believe it's a productive first out. And so it's 7-6 now. It's a 1-run game on the RBI 6-3 ground out there by Jordan Vasquez. And they've confirmed that it's 1 out.
Someone in the Cubs fan section has confirmed 1 out and walked over to the other side and has said that, hey, this is 1 out. That one's hit hard down the first base line. Is that 3 or is it 2? Or is it 3 or is it 2?
What is it?
What is going on here?
So that's either the 3rd out and it's a 7-5 game, or it's the second out and it's a 7-6 game. You can't have both.
Well, now it says 7-6 on the board.
So it's a 7-6 game, so that was the 2nd out. If that's the 3rd out, it's a 7-5 game. So
Yes.
What's the conclusion here?
Okay, well, while we wait for a conclusion, we're going to go to break. They're running under the assumption that it's 7-6 with 3 outs. So, with that being said, we'll go to break. We'll try to get some answers for you all. As of now, through the top of the 5th inning, it's 7-6. As of now, it's 7-6. So we've been told. But They're in the room next to us. They're currently deliberating what is going on. They've reset the scoreboard. As, meanwhile, this inning gets underway.
Well, we're all going to find out in about a minute.
If you're the Cubs in this scenario, would you prefer 7-6 with 3 outs or 7-5 with 3 outs or 7-6 with 2 outs?
I mean, 7-6, as it stands, you'd be happy if you're the Cubs. This is the rare occasion where right now Chicago is having their cake and eating it too. They get the best of both worlds, and they're okay with that. We'll see what the change is, though. That's important.
In the air, right field. This is off the bat of Lewis. Arroyo's there. He's got it for the first out.
I think more people are focused on this scoreboard than the play that just happened in right field.
We'll see. They're in that inning right now, or getting close to it, where they're about to put the runs on the board. And they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Would have been top 5. Okay.
And they say it's 7-5.
Right. Hold on. Let's see what they do outwise. If they put one up, yeah, it's
7-5.
It's a 7-5 game.
So 7-5 is the score according to the official score.
And that should be the correct decision. They went with 3 outs, and that would have meant that McNamara was out at second. So that should, by our eyes, be the correct movement there.
There was a fielder's choice, or so we thought.
Yes.
But because he threw it away, McNamara just kept on running, probably in hopes to do something, which is what happened, which would be to confuse the umpires enough into thinking that he was safe.
The good old fool the umpire trick. I don't think I've ever tried that one.
Most don't.
Left field base hit off the bat of Tome. He's got his 2nd consecutive hit.
And in fairness to McNamara, and then we'll move on from the subject because we've solved it, he probably didn't know he was out. He probably proceeded as usual, sat on third, saw nobody recognized him, and was like, okay, I wasn't out. And then Ellington's giving him the whole, hey, dude, what are you doing here? And he's just like, hey, I was safe as far as I know. So it's just kind of a miscommunication. It's not the greatest look for the umpires, admittedly. I think they'd admit that as much. And what matters is, Austin, we got it right in the end. And now we're in the chance, and the Guardians have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder to try and build the lead back.
So here we go with the runner on first and 1 gone. Popped up in the air to center field. Harvey camps underneath it, finds it through the haze, and makes the grab for out number 2. And I can tell the outs are going to be a point of contention for the fans moving on, if this is any indication of the people sitting in the first couple of rows in front of us.
Yes, and we did say we're going to get on with the topic, but this really will be the final point. I don't know if the fans, Cubs side-wise, have noticed yet.
The 15U boys that have been making the noise have looked back at us a couple of times and given us some confused faces, I'll say. But, again, I think maybe they know they got away with one, and they've kind of just said, all right, we'll sit back and we'll admit to it.
Can I also admit that it is really funny how we have so many parents coming up to us, and we do not control the score.
We do not. We've also now been told that we're the official replay, which we definitely are not.
We don't even have replay. You can come back and watch it on YouTube. It's the beautiful part of it being on YouTube, but it's not official. It's not official.
It's not on demand.
I do enjoy going, when everybody looks at us, I do enjoy pointing at everybody else and going, hey, it's not us, runner goes.
Safe at second base. Call was clear.
No doubt about that one.
And I think the Sox players have come over and they're trying to explain it to the Cubs families.
It's weird seeing the Northsiders and the Southsiders agree on something for once.
They all live in unison, though. We all live in unison. I say this as a Chicagoan.
Okay.
I love this.
This is great to watch.
They're man-to-man, and he turns away and says, what are we doing, guys?
Popped him up. Gonzalez, a lot of room in foul ground. Can't get there as he slides near the sidewall.
It was Ezra Essex who was done with trying to explain it to the Northsiders.
Because they're persistent that it's 7-6. But once again, though, to quote the popular social medias, the math ain't mathin'.
Math is definitely not mathing.
Hey, bro, math hard. We learned this earlier.
But you told me I had to remember numbers for next game. How am I supposed to do that now?
I said remember the winning numbers, so now it's either 5 or 7. That's all that matters.
Off the mound comes McNamara with a big strikeout with the runner on second. Cubs have life and momentum. The Nike RBI side from the north side of Chicago comes back to bat when we return on the Windy City Sports Network. return in the top of the 6th inning. It's a 7-5 ball game. And amidst the drama of still trying to figure out the score, we'd be remiss to mention that what a phenomenal defensive inning that was for the Cubs, specifically Max McNamara on the mound.
Oh, yeah, are you kidding? The first thing he gets, it's going to be a pop out to Arroyo and right. Next batter, he gives up the single. It's Tone. You know what you're going to get from him, one of the better hitters, and he's the leadoff guy, so expect it. Next guy, he goes the distance, gets another pop out. The next one, a punchy. Also went the distance and stuff looked great. How can you not feel good if you're McNamara in the Cubs defense?
That's caught at second base on a line by Martinez, and that's the first out of the 6th inning. So Cincinnati has hit 2 balls really hard, just right at defenders. And he's 0 for 3.
And lost in all that hoopla from the chaos was that the last inning was really good for the Cubs on the defensive side, right? I mean,
Yeah.
McNamara was great. I know you probably already talked about it, and I've been here, but I just think it's important. McNamara came back after the whole chaos that was surrounding him and hammer it home. It was really, really good.
1-0 inside. Britton's fastball looks like it has more life now all of a sudden.
And that's something to speak of. You're working on that momentum. One, you had the 7-run lead. So you feel good about that, and you can really just, you don't think about what you're doing. That was really close. But you don't think about what you're doing. You're just kind of motoring on. But now that it's really as close as it is, he might be pitching with a little bit more anger, which is why you might see it, ducking, diving, and slicing through the zone a little bit more, is because he's really gripping that ball as hard as he possibly can and just going all out.
2-2 from Britton. Got him swinging. Salazar down on strikes.
And this is a good response from the Guardians after that last big number. They've gone 2 for 2 here and have started to work it a little bit better. Britton back to life like you've talked about, and just getting the Cubs out of rhythm. They're trying to take any bit of momentum away from Chicago as soon as possible with this game running out of frames.
So up steps Gonzalez, 2 gone in the inning. And a breaking ball bends in there for strike 1. Gonzalez walked and later came around to score in that chaotic 5-run 5th inning for Chicago. He pops that one foul and falls behind 0-2.
I think this could be the most important at-bat of the game so far. If you now look at the next frame, right? The next time they go up, it would be their last licks, last life, and you would go 9-1-2. As much as you want McNamara to still be out there if he's doing well, and you don't necessarily mind the 9-0 hitter being up because you still get to flip the lineup card over. If you could start 1, 2, 3, a coaching staff and an offense would feel a little bit more comfortable and sit a little bit more pretty if that's what they were dealing with in their potential last chance to score.
So it's 0-2 with 2 gone after they had to go with some more baseballs. Here's the pitch. Oh, that's dirty. Britton fired up. And so are the rest of the Guardians Nike RBI squad. They hold a 2-run lead as we go to the bottom of the 6th here on the Windy City Sports Network. Bottom 6, and Cleveland now has all the momentum, and they come back to bat. Kevin Malater, Ryan Sikora, Austin Kroom with you here on WCSN. We got a fun one, and we thought last night was weird, that Cubs Nike RBI and Tigers Nike RBI game was interesting. I think we've one-upped it, boys.
But there's still a potential to see that matchup again after this game.
It would require a shutdown inning from McNamara here, and then 3 Chicago runs in the 7th.
The Northern boys win most fun collection of games for the tournament.
2-0. The team from the north side, they brought a lot of energy down here.
And where does McNamara go from that last inning? He was juiced up after the last frame, threw great stuff, and now you've got to hit that same level again if you're the relief pitcher.
Can't let the noise get to your head, and that's a really difficult aspect to any sport, especially baseball. When you're going to have times, the entire dugout is chirping you. You got family, you got friends chirping you. You just had a 1-2-3 inning for your hitters. You got to go out there and show them that you can still bounce back and do it yourself, but you're also down. So it takes a certain type of crazy and genius to be able to really lock in this situation.
This is poked in the air to right field. Long run, Arroyo, but he's underneath it, and he has it for the first out. McNamara, after falling behind 2-0, gets Figueroa to fly out.
And those are tougher than they look with the lights on. There's just the right amount of shade in the sky right now that you might be able to lose the baseball. So we've hit the point where it's kind of become scary hours. You saw a couple of moments times this year out on the West Coast. Stanford, that sunken diamond down there where they play their collegiate ball. This time of night, the ball gets really hard to find there. You lose it. Stanford and Texas played a great game earlier in the year on the college side of things where Texas lost the ball in the air, lost a game, so everything in the outfield, every fly ball is big.
Backhanded by Correa on 1 hop. 2 gone in the inning.
It was fantastic from the third baseman.
And the defense for Cubs Nike RBI is still locked in. Like to see that. If you want to see maybe another crazy game after this one, but as much as they're locked in defensively, you cannot go down 1-2-3.
So up steps the designated hitter in Joangel Rivera, the DH who has singled and scored, walked and scored, and has grounded out in succession. And he skies the first pitch to left, down the line. Padilla in foul ground, has got it. And it's a 3-up, 3-down inning for McNamara on the bump. The 7th inning is up next when you return here on the Windy City Sports Network. So we've hit the top of the 7th. Chicago down to their final 3 outs, but it's a 2-run game, and the momentum has been swinging back and forth all night long.
I was going to say, it's like a pendulum. You don't know which way it's going to go. Whoever's got more weight on their side is going to go to them. It's an interesting move to see lefty-lefty with McNamara against Britton.
McNamara was hit by that pitch the last time he came up and then became the source of controversy on the offensive side of things.
Probably trying not to do that again.
1 and 2.
If you had to ask me, this game started, the momentum way shift 100% to the Guardians. The Cubs brought it back, almost 100% shift to them, and now it's probably with the Cubbies at about 60%. So still in their shoulders, but they just can't let it go. 1 out, 2 outs. They just got to keep getting the first couple guys on.
McNamara at the top of the order. Britton out of the windup. 1-2. McNamara way late on the fastball, but he stays alive.
And so far, the lefty-lefty matchup has not caused to be trouble. He's still fighting him off, but you can see that Britton, the time you now have the glove side run, it works out for you.
He lays off the sweeper.
When you're able to locate it, whether it be the slider, the curveball, the heater, the fact that it's tailing away from McNamara, he really has to give everything he has to make an acrobatic swing.
We are full.
McNamara's got some swagger at the plate, man.
3-2 home. Got him swinging.
And after the pitching performance we just saw from Darnell Kemp, Britton's come in and said, I'll do you one better in a bigger game, a bigger environment, a better opponent. He's laying it all out there. He's dominated these last couple of frames.
Ball 1.
I think the thing that you really have to look at for Britton, seemed like he was doing a bit too much trying to win that lefty-lefty matchup. The last one he threw to McNamara, right down the pipe. He didn't try at all. He said, you know what, I'm going to give you what you want. You have to beat me to the spot to do it. And McNamara couldn't.
Now he's missed on back-to-back there. He goes inside, slipped out. He goes outside, slipped out. He gets a new ball. So trying to find any advantage he can to reset his game.
3 balls and no strike. He's in threat of walking the speedster and Antoine Harvey.
And I like what Harvey is doing here, understanding you're at the top of the order. You represent the first guy to get on the tying run on deck.
Straight take.
And it's a good patient play. Again, it's the same thing holds. All he has to do, Harvey, is get on, and the Cubs are in business. I think he's well aware of that.
Fouls off a fastball, and we're full once again.
And most Tigers players, family, coaches, whoever you want to call who's riding with them, they're all on the edge of their seats seeing who they're about to play.
Harvey goes down on strikes.
And you can see it. Britton wanted that one. He got that one. We got a good look at one of the Tigers players walking down. There's a pump of the fist. Remember what happened the first game for the tournament for these two teams? Detroit had a chance to beat them, and they had the bases loaded, and they struck out looking. They want another chance at him. I'm sure Cleveland will too. All comes down to one swing, and who else would it be? The first guy we saw this weekend in Xavier Arroyo.
The right fielder takes a fastball for a strike. He wasn't happy about it, but it's 0-1.
It was a good take.
Our last hope, as they currently sit at 1-0-1. And he's late on that breaking ball, just punches it to first base. Burke is there, and that'll do it. Cleveland survives 7-5. And they improve to 2-1 on the weekend.
Kevin, you know, I don't really know if you would have told me when this game started there would be this much drama heading into the final 3 innings of this one. You saw a 7 put up by the end of the 3rd and thought, you know what, this really could be it. But Cubs Nike RBI saying, you know what, you're in our city. We're going to try to take on as much momentum as possible. And they almost were able to surmount that comeback. But when you have a guy wheeling and dealing like Jack Britton, it's almost washed out there. He was nails.
So that'll do it for this one. Cubs now sit at 1-1-1. Cleveland and Detroit, we got a fun rematch ahead of us for our next game.
It's going to be a good one. Shout out to the Guardians. They showed up. That big 5-run inning in the 3rd gave them enough of a cushion. I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at the standings. I don't know how accurate it truly is. It has the Guardians at 2-1. It also has the Guardians in 3rd. So I'm not sure if that's going to change or not right now. But this This next game could very much be a must-win for Cleveland, and they'll also be having a second eye on this Twins game.
So that's going to wrap it up for us. We'll be back in roughly half an hour for the Tigers and the Guardians. For our great crew, for Austin Crewman, Ryan Sikora, I'm Kevin Later, signing off from Curtis Granderson Stadium. Tigers and Guardians up next to wrap up the night.